G'day there, ladies and gentlemen. Lee here, Fry's Garage. It's another little diagnostic tech tip. So this is a heavy-duty Salisbury 10-bolt diff with factory limited slip centers, as in they're going to be cones. Now, this is in an SS Commodore, early Commodore. Now, there was a whine on and off the throttle, and also a clunk. Now the driver did say that the clunk happened, when you put it into park, or when you sort of, when it's changing gears. So the first thing I do was I drain the oil. Now look, the oil wasn't too bad. There's no metallic, no specks. It's a bit dirty. So look, I haven't got it tested to see what the PQ index is. So that's particle quantity of chromium, or the hardening bits of metal basically, so bearing hardening, etc, etc. So I just check the basics, because look, it's quite easy to justify quickly rebuilding this diff, or whether he can keep using it, etc, etc. So what I do to see where this clunk and this backlash is coming from, I'll see whether we've got lateral movement. So basically I'll set a dial indicator up and zero it, and to see this crown wheel, if we can move that crown wheel to the right and to the left. If we can, it means the shimming for the carrier bearings is incorrect. So in turn what will happen is, because the crown wheel can move left to right, depending if it's unloaded or loaded from the pinion gear, it's going to create excessive backlash between the teeth of the crown wheel and the pinion teeth. Okay, so when I set these performance or standard diffs up, I'll go no more than 0.08 of an inch backlash between the teeth on the crown wheel and the pinion. Okay, some of the race ones we sort of make them a little bit looser, but generally speaking 0.08 of an inch and you're close, 6 to 8 thousandths. Now when it comes to regards to the crown wheel having movement left and right, there should be zero. I should have a zero movement on the dial gauge if I move this with a lever to the left or to the right. So let's see how much movement we got. I'm going to put a bar up in here, right, and shift it over. And if the dial moves, we got too much backlash already in the, or too less a shimming. All right, the gap's too big. So let's move it. All right, so make sure it's all the way over. So that's zero, that's fine. And now we're going to come back the other way. All right, look at that. That's just on 11 thousandths of an inch. All right, so that's just over 0.255 mil. So yeah, about quarter of a mil. That's huge, guys. All right, so when it comes to that much end float on the crown wheel, that's actually opening up the backlash between the gear teeth on the crown wheel and pinion quite a lot, probably twice as much, to be honest. That's a heap. Okay, so unfortunately, because that crown wheel has been allowed to not only go left and right, it's kind of been able to do this a little bit. All right, and unfortunately what happens there is, I can't get too much of a close-up, but the wear pattern on these teeth will start to get pretty nasty over time. All right, so it pretty much destroys the tooth pattern. So all in honesty, we're gonna have to rebuild this diff. And I also did note that where the axle, end of the axle spline comes into the conical LSD gears inside the center, there's quite a bit of backlash there too. So those splines are worn. So we're basically going to need new LSD cones. And look, this may justify now for, a nice new True Track center, Spice, a Dana center, something nice and new. But we'll talk to the customer about that. All right, so look, the bearings have not worn. They are not damaged. There is no contamination, metallic contamination in the oil, to say that the reason that we have this excessive backlash or end float in the crown wheel bearings is the wear of the bearings. It's purely because someone has actually had this diff apart, whether they've changed the ratio. I haven't measured the ratio, I haven't got that far yet, and they haven't shimmed this correctly. All right, it's missing a shim. So anyway, so there you go. So with a whiny diff, basically if it's on or off the throttle, you're going to have the backlash issue, you know, or you're going to have a shimming issue with regards to your crown wheel. All right, so it's all in the center here. If the whirring is there all the time, potentially, highly likely, it's going to be the wheel bearing, and you're going to have a lot of, you know, metallic sort of nastiness. But this is pretty, look, it's just standard 85 140. There's no shiny bits whatsoever in there. All right, so yeah, look, because someone hasn't done the right thing, they've destroyed the diff. So unfortunately, the customer now has to, pay for it. So any questions, send us a link. What I might do is when this diff, when it comes out, if I actually do get the authorization, I'll do a diff rebuild series and we'll go through the nitty gritty, all right? And then I'll explain a little bit more and you can see the backlash, how I adjust it, what it should be, and what we're looking for with zero end float and how we get that. All right, guys, take care. Thumbs up, and I'll talk to you next time. Cheerio.